It's 11:30 and it's time to go live for day 3 lesson. Hi everybody. I am back again. It's Friday, yay! And I hope that people saw my post yesterday. I tried to get the word out that I was going live today at 11:30 instead of 1 o'clock because of my team meeting scheduled at 1. But I should be back at the normal time at 1 o'clock starting on Monday again. Of course, these are going to stay on my Facebook feed. You can access them at any time. You can go back and rewatch if you need to hear the text that I am reading and sharing to you today. So my first 3 days, my first week, if you will, is coming to an end. And I'm really excited because I already last night sat and did all my lessons for next week already too. So I'm quite excited about that and diving into some different things starting next week. So to get started today, hi Carrington, how are you? It is Friday, so normally at school it's kind of casual Friday jeans. I do have shorts on today because it is super warm outside, totally feels like spring. But I also have, boom! It would be NCAA weekend, of course, the basketball tournament. But since there is no basketball this weekend or college baseball, my husband and I and my in-laws are season ticket holders to Louisville baseball, which we're really sad because the season's over already, just a month into when it got started. So I decided, you know what? I'm sporting my favorite team today. I bleed the red and black. They're my Cardinals. So as people are jumping on here, tell me, who is your favorite college team if you have one? And if not, who's your favorite pro sports team? So I definitely love the Louisville Cardinals, and my favorite pro team would have to be my Pittsburgh Steelers. I love the Steelers. I grew up loving them thanks to my dad and my grandfather. And normally at school, starting at lunch through the afternoon, I carry a big cup that is Pittsburgh Steelers. My kids definitely know my Steeler cup. And sometimes I have forgotten it if we're walking somewhere and I'll send somebody back and go, go get my Steeler cup from my desk. I have to have it with me in the afternoon. So yeah, that is, oh yeah. See, my husband cards L's up definitely too. Love them always. So just something that we can think about at this time, even though nobody's playing, we can at least still support the athletes while they're out there, especially the college athletes, the ones that are seniors, that their season suddenly from one day was a thing and then the next day it wasn't. So, hi, Caitlin. Miss you. So I'm ready to get started today with my lesson, and I only have black marker. So I was just telling my husband that I need to try to I have this whole cup of other markers, but the only dry erase I have, as you can see, are black. Black is going to show up the best in me doing this, but I like lots and lots of color. So I'm going to try to maybe at least find some blue or red that I might be able to draw with. But today's lesson is, and I decorated it again, main idea. And I put FRI-YAY on there because that's what I always say to my boys and girls. It's FRI-YAY, woohoo! And supporting details. And I drew a sun because the sun is shining here, although it's only supposed to be in the 40s tomorrow, 70s today, 40s tomorrow. That's crazy. And down here, I drew a beautiful flower and a butterfly. Don't make fun of me. It might look a little alien, but it's the best I can do because I told you that I am not very artistic. So, main idea, supporting details. Honestly, boys and girls, yesterday, between the theme and the main idea, those are both things that kiddos can confuse. They are similar, but they technically are different things. So yesterday we talked about coming up with a good theme. Theme of the story is a lesson learned. And by the way, thank you, Dad. I found out I misspoke yesterday. My amazing song that I made up years ago is to the theme of Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I misspoke and I said it was Old MacDonald. I know my nursery rhyme songs. Don't think I don't, but it was just a misspoken moment. So thank you for pointing that out, dear Dad. Moving on. Anyway, these topics, the theme and the main idea, are things that sometimes get confused for boys and girls. So yesterday I talked about the theme, determining what the important message is, the lesson learned from the author to all of us. Today, we're going to talk about what this is and how we can support it. So I'm ready to get started. I'm going to put this down, and while I'm reading to you today, you will need, again, paper and pencil. That's it. Next week, we're going to do a little bit more art at times. So keep those art supplies handy for next week. But today, just paper and pencil again. And there are 5 stories in this text. I have decided to only focus on 3 of them. And the reason for that, the other 2 are great. And if you get access to this text, I want you to read them. You can. But I have decided to only do 3 of them because these 3 are what we like to think of as fairy tales as having happy endings. The other 2 aren't so happy of endings. But in reality, a lot of the authors, like the Grimm brothers and Hans Christian Andersen, who are kind of considered the fathers of fairy tales, the ones that they wrote really didn't have happy endings. So the other 2 in this text that I'm not going to read are kind of more on the line of what they wrote. I like to think of fairy tales as always having that happy ending, the Disney type theme. So those are the ones that I'm going to focus on. So the last one I'm going to read in here is called Babbity Rabbity and Her Cackling Stump. And more than anything, I just really like saying her name, Babbity Rabbity. I think that is a super fun name, and I kind of wish it was my name sometimes, but it's not. I am not cool enough to have that name. So here we go. Babbity Rabbity and Her Cackling Stump. A long time ago, in a far-off land, there lived a foolish king who decided that he alone should have the power of magic. He therefore commanded the head of his army to form a brigade of witch hunters and issued them a pack of ferocious black hounds. At the same time, the king caused proclamations to be read in every village and town across the land. Wanted by the king, an instructor in magic. No true witch or wizard dared volunteer for the post, for they were all in hiding from the brigade of witch hunters. However, a cunning charlatan, which means a trickster, with no magical power, saw a chance of enriching himself and arrived at the palace claiming to be a wizard of enormous skill. The charlatan, the trickster, performed a few simple tricks that convinced the foolish king of his magical powers and was immediately appointed the grand sorcerer-in-chief, the king's private magic master. The charlatan bade the king give him a large sack of gold so that he might purchase wands and other magical necessities. He also requested several large rubies to be used in the casting of curative charms and a silver chalice or 2 for the storing and maturing of potions. A chalice is like a very fancy cup, like a goblet that you would drink out of. All of these things the foolish king supplied. The charlatan stowed the treasure safely in his own house and returned to the palace grounds. He did not know that he was being watched by an old woman who lived in a hovel, which means like a little shack, on the edge of the grounds. Her name was Babbity, and she was the washerwoman who kept the palace linen soft, fragrant, and white. Peeping from behind her drying sheets, Babbity saw the charlatan snap two twigs from one of the king's trees and disappear into the palace. The charlatan gave one of the twigs to the king and assured him that it was a wand of tremendous power. "It will only work, however," said the charlatan, "when you are worthy of it." So I wonder if the king would ever be worthy of it. It would probably never work, right? Trickster. Every morning, the charlatan and the foolish king walked out onto the palace grounds, where they waved their wands and shouted nonsense to the sky. The charlatan was careful to perform more tricks so that the king remained convinced of his grand sorcerer's skills and of the power of the wands that had cost so much gold. One morning, as the charlatan and the foolish king were twirling their twigs and hopping in circles and chanting meaningless rhymes, a loud cackling reached the king's ears. Babbity, the washerwoman, was watching the king and charlatan from the window of her tiny cottage and was laughing so hard she soon sank out of sight, too weak to stand. "I must look undignified to make the old washerwoman laugh so," said the king. He ceased his hopping and twig twirling and frowned. "I grow weary of practice. I grow tired of it. When shall I be ready to perform real spells in front of my subject sorcerer?" The charlatan tried to soothe his pupil, assuring him he would soon be very capable of astonishing feats of magic. But Babbity's cackling had stung the foolish king more than the charlatan knew. "Tomorrow," said the king, "we shall invite our court to watch their king perform magic." Uh-oh. The charlatan saw that the time had come to take his treasure and flee. "Alas, your majesty, it's impossible. I had forgotten to tell your majesty that I must set out on a very long journey tomorrow. If you leave this palace without my permission, sorcerer, my brigade of witch hunters will hunt you down with their hounds. Tomorrow morning, you will assist me to perform magic for the benefit of all my lords and ladies. And if anybody laughs at me, I shall have you beheaded." The king stormed back to the palace, leaving the charlatan alone and afraid. Not all his cunning, all his tricking, could save him now, for he could not run away, nor could he help the king with the magic that neither of them knew. Seeking a vent for his fear and anger, the charlatan approached the window of Babbity, the washerwoman. Peering inside, he saw the little old lady sitting at her table, polishing a wand. In a corner behind her, the king's sheets were washing themselves in a wooden tub. The charlatan then understood at once that Babbity was a true witch, and that it was she who had given him his awful problem, or that she was the one who could solve his awful problem. "Crone," which means old woman, roared the charlatan, "your cackling has cost me dearly. If you fail to help me, I shall denounce you. I shall tell you that you are a witch, and it will be you who is torn apart by the king's hounds." Old Babbity smiled at the charlatan and assured him that she would do everything in her power to help. The charlatan instructed her to conceal herself inside a bush while the king gave his magical display and to perform the king's spells for him without his knowledge. Babbity agreed to plan, but asked one question. "What, sir, if the king attempts a spell Babbity cannot perform?" The charlatan scoffed. "Your magic's more than equal to that fool's imagination," he assured her, and he retired to the castle, well pleased with his own cleverness. The following morning, all the lords and ladies of the kingdom assembled to the palace grounds. The king climbed into the stage in front of them with the charlatan at his side. "I shall firstly make this lady's hat disappear," cried the king, pointing his twig at a noblewoman. From inside a bush nearby, Babbity pointed her wand at the hat and caused it to vanish. Great was the astonishment and admiration of the crowd, and loud their applause for the jubilant, the amazing, the happy king. "Next, I shall make that horse fly," cried the king, pointing his twig at his own steed. Fancy word for a horse. From inside the bush, Babbity pointed her wand at the house and at the horse, and it rose high up into the air. The crowd was still more thrilled and amazed, and they roared their appreciation at the magical king. "And now," said the king, looking all around for an idea, and the captain of his brigade of witch hunters ran forward. Your Majesty," said the captain, "this is very important. Saber died of eating a poisonous toadstool. Bring it back to life, Your Majesty, with your wand." And the captain heaved onto the stage the lifeless body of the largest of the witch-hunting hounds. The foolish king brandished his twig and pointed it at the dead dog. But inside the bush, Babbity smiled and did not trouble to lift her wand, for no magic can raise the dead. When the dog did not stir, the crowd began first to whisper and then to laugh. They suspected that the king's first 2 feats had been mere tricks after all. Why doesn't it work?" the king screamed at the charlatan, who bethought himself of the only ruse left to him, the only lie. There, Your Majesty, there," he shouted, pointing at the bush where Babbity sat concealed. "I can see her plain. Oh, it's a wicked witch who is blocking your magic with her own evil spells. Seize her, somebody, seize her." Babbity fled from the bush, and the brigade of witch hunters set off in pursuit, unleashing their hounds, who bayed, who cried for Babbity's blood. But as she reached a low hedge, the little witch vanished from sight. And when the king, the charlatan, and all the courtiers gained to the other side, they found the pack of witch-hunting hounds barking and scrabbling around a bent and aged tree. She has turned herself into a tree," screamed the charlatan, and dreading lest Babbity turn back into a woman and denounce him, tell the truth about him, he added, "Cut her down, Your Majesty. That is the way to treat evil witches." An axe was brought at once, and the old tree was felled to loud cheers from the courtiers and the charlatan. However, as they were making ready to return to the palace, the sound of loud cackling stopped them in their tracks. "Fools!" cried Babbity's voice from the stump they had left behind. "No witch or wizard can be killed by being cut in half. Take the axe, if you do not believe me, and cut that grand sorcerer in two." The brigade of witch hunters was eager to make the experiment, but as the captain raised the axe, the charlatan fell to his knees, screaming for mercy and confessing all of his wickedness. As he was dragged away to the dungeons, the tree stump cackled more loudly than before. To cackle means to laugh, super loud. "By cutting a witch in half, you have unleashed a dreadful curse upon your kingdom," it told the petrified king. "Henceforth, from now on, every stroke of harm that you inflict upon my fellow witches and wizards will feel like an axe stroke in your own side, until you all wish you could die of it." At that, the king fell to his knees too, and told the stump that he would issue a proclamation at once, protecting all the witches and wizards of the kingdom, and allowing them to practice their magic in peace. Very good," said the stump, "but you have not yet made amends to Babbity." Anything at all," cried the foolish king, wringing his hands before the stump. "You will erect a statue of Babbity upon me, in memory of your poor washerwoman, and to remind you forever of your own foolishness," said the stump. The king agreed to it at once, and promised to engage the foremost sculptor in all the land, and have the statue made of pure gold. Then the shamed king and all the noblemen and women returned to the palace, leaving the tree stump cackling behind them. When the grounds were deserted once more, there wriggled from a hole between the roots of the stump a stout, kind of short and round, and whiskery old rabbit with a wand clamped between her teeth. Babbity hopped out of the grounds and far away, and ever after a golden statue of the washerwoman stood upon the tree stump, and no witch or wizard was ever persecuted in the kingdom again. And there's the stump. And as you can see, wrong way. Do you see the little 2 eyes there in the stump of Babbity when she became a rabbity? So she ended up definitely being the smartest one out of everyone, didn't she? A character that nobody really had ever paid any attention to ended up saving the day for others with magical powers in the kingdom. So that again proves anyone can be a lifesaver. You just have to think about how you can do it. So now I am going to dive into main idea again, and I am going to here at some point when school is completely deserted, head back out there and attempt to get my document camera. Because if I hook it into my Chromebook, then I will be able to write on my table and you will be able to see it much easier. I hope to be able to get that soon for you. But until then, my whiteboard here, raising it up will work just fine. So to get started, you have paper and pencil, right? If you happen to have a whiteboard or something, you're more than welcome to use that too. I don't care. We are going to show how to find the main idea of something. And it's very easy. To kind of think about it a little bit before you jot down the first thing that you think of, because lots of times boys and girls will come up with a main idea that's actually a supporting detail to a main idea for a text. So I'm going to show you what I teach my boys and girls in how to find a main idea of a text. It's really easy. So the first thing that I do, I say, think about the topic. And the topic of a text is usually only one or a couple words. So if, let's say you read something all about giraffes, and you're reading about all these giraffes and about their necks and about what they eat and how fast they run and all that good stuff about them. Well, the topic that you are reading is a giraffe. You're reading about giraffes. That's the topic. So the topic here in Babbity, Rabbity, and the Cackling Stump would be probably, what do you think? Give you a second to think about it. What do you think the topic of this was? Was it Babbity Rabbity? Was it the trickster character? Was it the king? Or was it something as simple as this? I would say the topic was magic. You know, being able to do magic and share magic, although the king had to learn that magic is something that should be shared, even though we know it is fantasy fiction. In this text, in this fairy tale, it wasn't. So he had to learn about that, but I would definitely say that the topic here is magic. So then I asked boys and girls, okay, you have the topic, one, maybe two words. Now, what is it about the topic? What is it that we read about? So I'm going to take this and put it into a complete sentence. A main idea is a complete sentence, boys and girls, period. It has to be. Because so many times I also get from boys and girls, they want to tell me a topic instead of a main idea. An idea is a complete thought. You have to tell me it in a complete thought. So, what was it about magic here? In one sentence. And I'm going to write down one. I want you, if you come up with one, I want you to put it in the comments. Okay? Right here. Put it in the comments. What do you think the main idea was in one sentence? Now, don't be confused with the theme. The theme is a lesson to be learned. So if the topic is magic, what happened in this text in one sentence about magic? So I'm going to go ahead and write mine down. I'm going to see if you agree with me. The main idea is, do you notice that I restated an answer? That's something good that you need to do too. You could always restate a question. We will get into that here probably soon. Okay, the main idea is You ready? Yeah, Carrington, you're probably right. Sometimes boys and girls try to sell themselves short, and you can't do that. You are smart. You cannot ever forget that. So here, the main idea, I say, is Babbity Rabbity use magic to teach others a lesson. One sentence. And we are soon going to talk about how a main idea like this can also be a summary too. We'll work on that probably week after next. So yeah, main idea, Babbity Rabbity used magic to teach others a lesson. So she ended up being the main character. So I definitely wanted to include her in my main idea here. And then what was it that she did? She ended up fooling everybody in her own way into treating others more fairly. So now I'm going to back this up. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. I have written my main idea in a little rectangle. You can do that on your paper too. So if you've not written this down, go ahead and do that. I will continue to hold it up so that you can. And now I need to support it. So we are going to turn this into a table. We know a table, and I'm sitting at my kitchen table right here. I'm looking down at it. Table normally stands on how many legs? Maybe, but still. Ding, 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 ding. It's 4. So if you can back up a main idea with at least 4 or more details, you probably have a main idea. If you can't, and you say, well, what I came up with, I can really only think of 1 or 2, then you probably have come up with another supporting detail to a main idea. See, that's where it gets a little bit confusing. If you have to check yourself, because if you can only back it up by a detail or 2, it's probably another supporting detail instead of the overall main idea. So let's see if we can support this. And again, I told you I am not the world's best artist, as you could see on my amazing main idea poster today. I tried really hard, but I told you yesterday, I leave the art to my sister. I am going to try to draw 4 table legs around this. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. Don't make fun of me. It looks terrible. I understand that. If you think it would look better by putting 1 at each corner and just judging, don't going like that, go for it. But each of these legs is going to give us room to write at least a little bit on how this is supported, okay? So I want you to be thinking about how this main idea, what supporting details were used here. She used magic to teach others a lesson. So the first one that I'm thinking of is she started by not doing anything when she was asked to raise the dog who had unfortunately passed away because it accidentally ate something that it wasn't supposed to. The king was asked to raise the dog, and Babbity says, well, that can't happen. Magic can't do that. What's done is done in that way. It's very final. So I'm going to write that here on my first one. So I'm saying she refused to raise something from the dead because she couldn't. Actually, I'm going to say because she could not. And do you notice that I went over in my line? Sometimes boys and girls get very stuck on that. They think, oh, well, I've run out of room. So sorry, Miss Vertrees, I can't write. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to look at you and listen maybe or maybe not. You can go over the line. If I put it down, you can put it down. Seriously. All right. So who has something else? Do you have another idea of how she taught them a lesson? What was something that she did? What was the next thing that she did? Think about when she ran to that stump. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to see if you agree. So I just said, Babbity hid under a stump to trick them. So we know that she changed into a rabbit and was pretending to be the stump, but she wasn't. Oh, good. I see Lydia and Isaiah said she made the king write a proclamation to protect all the witches and wizards. Okay, yep, because she said an evil curse had been put on them, right? So she said an evil curse. Was there an evil curse? No, she made that up. So she fibbed and said all witches and wizards need to be protected instead of hunted now because there was a curse put upon them. So I'm going to write down a curse was put on the kingdom unless all magical people were safe. So she ended up putting a curse. And I put that in quotation marks because that is a word that is used in our text here. But also she was fibbing about it. So it was like, yeah, she put a curse. Wink, wink. No, she didn't. She fibbed about it. But they didn't know that. So she put a curse on the kingdom unless all magical people became safe. And then it would be lifted. And then the last one, the main idea that I came up with here, use magic to teach others a lesson. Well, we can say that she did what? Or what then happened at the end? Oh, what happened with the trickster? What happened to him? Did he learn? Did he really learn his lesson too? I'm going to write that down. And I'm going to call him the trickster. So the trickster was caught for lying. The trickster was caught for lying to everyone, and I'm going to say all people all people were treated fairly? So I put that there. So now, since we kind of came up with our ideas to show that she taught everyone a lesson using magic, maybe, we could have gone even a different route with magic. Maybe we could have said that, the king was, the king wanted to be magical so much, but he learned at the end, or he wanted magic only for himself, but then he learned at the end that magic was something to be shared, and it was supposed to be honored. So my challenge for you right now, and if I flip this around, there we go. I would like for you, with a book that you have read at home or that you are reading at home, I would love for you to challenge yourself and see if you can come up with your own main idea table in supporting details. Do it today, do it this weekend. Post it in the comments. I want to see it. It doesn't have to be, obviously, we just kind of came up with one about Babbity Rabbity. Gives me another reason to say her name because it's so much fun to say. But I want you to come up with one. I know everybody has a picture book or something else at home, or maybe you just recently finished a chapter book. And chapter books definitely also have main ideas. Maybe every chapter kind of has one main idea, but overall, there is a big main idea for the entire text in that case too. So I'd love to see yours. Come up with one, post it in the comments, and I think that's about it for today. So thank you for joining me today. Please continue to watch this, share this. I want, if it is 15 boys and girls a day, I'm thrilled. That's 15 boys and girls that have listened to something and maybe learned a little bit or done a little activity. If it is 50 million billion, well, that's not even a number. That was incorrect place value, and I apologize. But you know what I'm saying. If it is an infinity number of people watching this, great too. All I care about is that boys and girls are continuing to stay active and continuing to use their noggins because you are smart. So I will see you Monday. I will be back at my normal time at 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on Monday. If you know someone that does not have Facebook, but does have internet access, please send them. I now have a YouTube page. Look me up. I'm posting these on YouTube within a few minutes of them being done. Margie, M-A-R-J-I-E, Vertrees, V-E-R-T-R-E-E-S, trees, like the trees outside. So I will see you on Monday. Until then, I will leave you like I have all week, and that is toodle poodles. Goodbye. Mwah. I miss you. See you soon. Maybe. Hopefully. See you on Monday anyway. Bye.